am Phillip Lanos, and today we are joined by Ryan Young, co founder of FlashHouse and born with real estate in his blood, third generation in the industry. Also, the CEO of Young Team, named by Real Trends in the Wall Street Journal as one of the top 250 teams in the country. Ryan, thank you for joining us, man. As you said, you're on your sixth cup of coffee for the morning. Is that right? And it's only Friday, you said.
It's only Friday. I think I'm at number 6 or 7.
Now, when you say it's only Friday, it's definitely different from, oh, thank God it's Friday. For you, it's the opposite, huh?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we're 24/7, and we don't look at the week starting on a Monday. You know, it's hard for us to turn it off. One of our core values, we always say we're after-hour thinkers, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like Friday is a Monday, is a Saturday. It's when you're passionate about what you do, it's like, you know, every day is just exciting.
And being third gen, like you always knew you wanted to be in real estate. Is that
No,
specifically?
ironically, no, that's actually my background is, so I went to culinary school. I grew up in a kitchen.
Oh, no
And,
way.
yeah, so my family was in real estate, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And so I went the exact opposite route. Went to a kitchen, started cooking.
Ratatouille life, huh?
Ratatouille. My nickname's Remy. And
Hey, Remy.
they're you know, it's funny because after I graduated high school, I went to culinary school, cooked in New York, Vegas, Chicago. And then when I was 26, I just got burnt out, and I reached out to my folks and said, what do you think about me coming back to Cleveland, to the Midwest, and getting into real estate? And, you know, they welcomed me with open arms. And this was in '09, when the market,
Just after the crash, yeah.
just after the crash, worst possible time to get into real estate. Ironically, for me, it was the best time because it taught me how, you know, work ethic and how to be creative and how to, you know, be a problem solver and stuff like that. So ironically, I pushed real estate away for a long time, but it just all of a sudden pulled me in.
It's very Paulo Coelho, the alchemist, where you left where you were to seek treasure and you
Yeah.
went to culinary school, traveled Chicago, Vegas, New York, cooking, getting
Yeah.
burnt out, only to find the treasure was home all along, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. You know, I think especially as kids, young adults, we resist and push away all the things that try to embrace us, to realize, you know, that I think as we get older and wiser, we realize how valuable that is and what it's like on the outside, where you don't have that genuine, you know, warmth, caring, you know, blood that cares about you more than anyone.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how it just kind of, you gravitate back towards it. You know, and now it's one of those things where it's like, I lobby to some of my friends that have left. You know, everyone leaves the Midwest, either heads out east or out west.
You got
And
to come back.
yeah, and it's funny because my business partner in Flash House, Steven, grade school buddy, one of my closest friends, he lives in LA. Every other conversation we're having, I'm throwing just that little sales pitch in for coming back home, you know, like LeBron did. And you know,
Hey.
it's like one of those things where it's easy. You know, it's easy to be surrounded by family and have the support and stuff like that. There's nothing like it.
100%, man. I mean, I had moved to New York and then eventually moved back to LA, and I think it was the best decision I ever made. Not that I don't
Yeah.
love New York. There's
No,
nothing
of
not to
course,
love about New York, but man,
for sure,
no place like home, right?
no doubt about it.
So Flash House, that's an interesting name. Can you tell me a little more history about Flash House?
Yeah. So, you know, ultimately, Flash House is like one of those, like, it's like naming a band, where it's like you sit there and think of all these names and concepts and who our demographic is and what it appeals to, and if you finally think you come up with the best idea, the best name, and then all of a sudden you Google it and it's like, damn, well, there's 7 of those, you know, so that's not going to work. And ironically, we were just playing around with some names and some ideas and we kind of started focusing on what our mission was. And our mission is to basically keep the sales process of selling a home as simple and clean and seamless and as fast as possible. And ultimately, the more we kept saying it, finally Flash House just kind of like, it just stuck, you know? And once it stuck, it was like, that's it. And ironically, sometimes people ask us about it, and it's like, to us, it's our baby. It's, some people are like, interesting, why'd you choose that? And it's like, as soon as we said it, we just knew, okay, that's it. Print the hoodies, get the hats made. We're Flash House.
I like that.
Yeah.
You looked at the word flash and sort of like flash sale and being
Yeah.
expedient and reliable, and people are going to be able to take it or leave it, right?
Yep.
That kind of thing. I think that speaks a lot to your branding and the story you're trying to tell about how you get things done. It's like, look, we're going to get it done. Someone's going to buy this. It's going to go.
Yeah. And also something about it as well, like it's kind of multi-layered because the we move fast, as an organization, as a team. When an idea ultimately gets cultivated, we want to act on it quickly. It's not one of these things where we want it to sit on the board for 6 months, a year. So it's like,
Right.
it kind of is a parallel to how we move as an organization, and ultimately the message we're looking to convey to the sellers and, to people out there and the consumers of like, this is a very valuable service that we provide. Our tech platform, everyone needs to be a part of this when it comes to selling their house. And we want to get it out to the marketplace as fast as possible. So, it has a lot to do with who we are as people as well. Like, we don't sit on things for a while. We like to move.
Tech platform. See, I like that you brought that up because it with the COVID coming into fruition here, and there's no telling, it might be till April of next year, or God knows where it's going to go. I imagine that you being primed as a tech platform and like having relied on tech from the jump has allowed you to actually do, I imagine, well, or at least decent in a time when a lot of places like restaurants, as you know, I'm
Yep.
sure you feel for, are failing right now, and really due to like all the restrictions and everything that's going on. Have you
Yep.
faced any obstacles during this time, or was it pretty like quid pro quo? This is the way it goes. Just another day in the life.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, when it comes to something revolutionary in, when you're talking about a real estate tech platform that people aren't really accustomed to, especially, you got to remember we're in the Midwest, and, so we are light years behind what they're doing on the coast. And that's the same way Midwesterners perceive a lot of the tech platforms out there, right? Um, I would say probably one of the biggest challenges with it is making the audience, the consumer, comfortable with this new wave type of way to sell a home. And, there weren't people in Cleveland, Ohio taking Ubers at the same time when they were in New York or San Francisco or LA,
Mm.
right? Like, it took them a little bit of time to say, wait, I'm going to get into a stranger's car. Like, that's what my mom told me not to do when I was a kid, right? And so it's like, but then once it starts to saturate the coast and work its way to the Midwest, ultimately, then finally it takes people just a little bit of time to get comfortable with it. Well, it's the same thing with this. When you're introducing a tech platform to selling real estate, which is a lot of people's most valuable asset, it's a little bit of a struggle. The for them, that is a big decision to make, and to do it that easy and that seamless. They're almost so used to and conditioned to it being a somewhat of a challenging, trying process, that to them it's almost too good to be true.
Right. What's the
And
catch?
what's the catch, right? And so it's just funny that, one of our biggest missions is ultimately to really make sure from a messaging standpoint that they understand this is the wave of the future. If you can order food on Uber Eats and buy, products on Amazon and take an Uber, you should be comfortable selling your home to us on our tech
Yeah.
platform. And it's an uphill battle. We see every day. I feel like it gets received better. But it's definitely one of those things where it takes some time for them to get comfortable with something so revolutionary to this market.
Yeah, being the company to pave the way has probably been the opposite of easy, because the conditioning and education you have to develop. Because you're right, when something hasn't been innovated, people are like, "Isn't this supposed to be harder than this?" Right? What's the catch? So what have you guys done as a team to sort of like, is it content creation, door to
Sure.
door, old school? Like how do you get over this one step at a time?
I think the best way to get over it is to focus on the success stories, focus on the people that are raving fans that really, at first they said, this seems a little sketchy, But then ultimately, once they made the commitment and sold their home to us via our tech platform, and then we facilitate the sale, I think once they realize that it's that easy, I think the most common feedback that we've gotten is, I'll never sell my home in the traditional way again. So the more we can kind of, focus on that, focus on those success stories, the more all of a sudden other people get comfortable with it. And so what's great about the service we provide is people, once they go through the experience, want to tell everyone else. And so, because it's, this is not, first of all, you don't sell your home every day. And then once you ultimately sell it through our platform to us, we buy it. It's hard not to talk about that with friends and family and saying, you wouldn't believe I sold my house and I didn't sell it on the market with a realtor. I sold it to this company called FlashHouse. And that is very easy talking points to get other people engaged and intrigued. So for us, it's been a little bit more organic, just through some of the case studies and success stories that we've had.
That's pretty cool. So it sounds like you might. So now, okay. In terms of parties being allowed to jump on the platform, is it just the seller and the buyer, or do professionals in real estate also get a chance to step into the game?
Yeah. So we actually have, so the way the platform works is, if someone wants to sell their house, it is extremely easy. They go on our website, they ultimately put in their information, and then we have about 25 conditional questions that allow us to get a true sense of value of their property based on some of the algorithms we use. And ultimately, once they submit, we actually are the buyer. So we send them the offer directly from us. So we're acquiring the property, and then we facilitate the sale after, we acquire it. We have worked with several realtors and agents. So we have introduced them into the platform, along with third parties like builders and senior living.
Yeah.
Some of the people that really value our service because they have clients that really need certainty and security in the sale of their home. And so we've kind of found, at first thought we were strictly going straight to the consumer, but ironically now there's been a lot of strategic partnership with other professionals that have really valued what we do.
See, that's great, because now it sounds like you could really scale this technology, right? Because something so disruptive to, I mean, some people
For
might see it
sure.
as a threat, but if they can jump on a wave and actually use it to their advantage as professionals too,
For
that's
sure.
when this technology really, I think, is going to be taking some serious adoption.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because there is definitely a threat element to, current realtors. All of a sudden, we're acquiring houses through
Yeah,
technology and through algorithms and stuff like that. Ironically, though, there is still so much uncertainty in the traditional real estate marketplace. You're dealing with appraisals and inspections and buyers financing and stuff like that, that there is still a value and a need for them to reach out to a certain option, an option that provides the certainty. So although we're not looking to, adapt the entire real estate, marketplace into
right.
using us and working with us, at the end of the day, we have found that a lot of people value our services in certain circumstances, right? A lot of them are still going to focus on their traditional methods. However, there are times where unique circumstances arise, and here we provide stability. And so they really value us when there is the uncertainty.
That's super cool, man. Do you spend time on social media? Do you find that you get actual benefit from being on there, or you said you've been doing a lot of like word of mouth and growing
Yeah.
that way? Is there
Yeah.
any
So
marketing outside of that you do?
yeah, we're pretty organic, just because we feel like the message is so compelling,
Yeah,
and there's such a value for our service. But we do, we do have a social presence, a digital presence, stuff like that. I think what, as any organization, what ultimately is the true testament of you're doing something phenomenal is the referral, the word of mouth.
absolutely.
I come from a traditional real estate brokerage background. I'm a realtor, by trade. As soon as I transitioned into that from cooking, and our business was built on referrals. And, we kind of said, look, my job is to do right by you and you to have an unbelievable 6-star experience. And ultimately, once you do, you can't wait to tell everyone about us. Ironically, when you're talking about the tech platform, it kind of butts heads a little bit with word of mouth and stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, However, it's just interesting that the word of mouth piece is continuing to validate what we are doing. And it's just giving much more consumer confidence to everyone that we're talking to. They're entering the site, they're finding us through several different channels, but that word of mouth piece, that referral piece is by far what validates what we do.
Man, are you guys, because you never know who's listening to this, would you be open to investors listening to this talk about, hey man, let's see if we can work something out, that kind of thing? I mean, I know that's like you start looking at liquidity and like how
Sure.
percentages or whatever, but
For sure.
with
Yeah.
the work that you're doing, you could legitimately disrupt an entire industry. And
Yeah. Well,
you are.
yeah, it's funny you say that. We're, we are in the process of doing a raise right now, an equity raise.
Oh,
And,
perfect.
so we are, we're very fortunate. We've had a lot of people approach us, and it's, I think they believe in not just what we're doing, they believe in the technology that we have. They also believe in the people that are
I
in
was
our
gonna say the team's got to be strong to pull
the
something like
team
this
is
off.
strong, and it's like when you have someone like me, who ultimately has had 11 years in real estate, built a big real estate agency. They see what I've created, and then my business partner, my co-founder, Stephen London, who's had a lot of success in startups and in multiple different fields. And when you believe in the people, it's a lot easier to say I'm willing to invest. These guys have a track record of success and of building, and I think it just makes it that much easier to give them the confidence.
It's a no-brainer, yeah, for an investor if they see the. And for me, I wonder, is there anything you learned in the culinary world that you carried over into real estate that sort of you feel really helped, whether it's team building, because the kitchen, there's a hierarchy and the way people
Yeah,
work.
that's a great question. It's funny. So when I turned 18, or yeah, I was 18 when I went to culinary school. All my other friends, they went out to, big colleges. They were partying. They were living, having the time of their life. The culinary school that I went to is called the Culinary Institute of America. It's in upstate New York. And every morning, we had to be clean shaven.
Yeah,
No, our uniform had to be pressed. It was
yeah.
6 hour a day classes. Like, when you're 18 and you want to go have fun, and and all of a sudden you got to be in the kitchen at 6:30 in the morning, clean shaven. It teaches you a little bit about responsibility. And then I was fortunate to take that and transition into one of the best restaurants in the world, where I was cooking at in Chicago. And the level of discipline, the amount of focus, the intentionality behind everything you do, once you start to develop those behaviors, and adapt those behaviors, it's amazing how when you apply that to just business, to just life in general, it's amazing how they are really valuable. And I'm really grateful. Ironically, although I had a really expensive culinary education, that I don't use anymore. Ultimately, I learned so much from it that applies to the business world, that the entrepreneurial world that people just don't get at a normal college. You don't get these type of skill sets. So ironically, it really has played well into what I do, and to some of the businesses I built.
I mean, I can see it, man. I mean, I'm sure at some point you'll probably find another way to continue to mold those two worlds into something specific, because I can only imagine what that mental transfer was like to step into this world and be like, wait a minute, I can use literally the things I learned here and probably help develop some of your culture at the company. And
For sure.
for me, I'm wondering, do you still cook? Or like, because I
Yeah, it's
imagine
funny.
when you're building kitchens or when you're buying homes and you see kitchens, like, does that
Yeah.
cross your mind?
No, it's funny. I mean, I would say my friends and my wife benefit more of my culinary abilities than I'm a grinder. I'm, putting in 90 plus hours a
Get some
week.
fast food.
Yeah, it's hard for me to turn it off. And people are surprised when they see some of the things they eat. They're like, seriously, you've cooked at some of the best restaurants in the world and you're eating like a DiGiorno's pizza or a Hot Pocket. And I'm like, man, I love Hot Pockets. What's wrong with Hot Pockets?
It's a
Like,
culinary
yeah.
beauty.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like bowl of cinnamon toast crunch to start the day. And
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
but it's funny. I get, where the culinary piece really is important to me is I love to bring people together. And, I feel like food is always the best way to do
Oh
that.
yeah.
And it's tough for someone like me to go out with my friends to eat when I have a skill set, ironically, that in my opinion provides a much more intimate experience
And way better food.
and way better food. So it's like one of those things where it's like, they definitely reap the benefits of it, but I will say it's a struggle. There is I don't know if I'll ever retire, but when I do, I'm definitely going to cook a lot more.
You still have your set of knives? From what I
Oh
remember,
yeah, I got it.
cooks
I
have
got
to
it.
be, yeah.
I got it all.
I
That
had a
night.
roommate in New York. He had a set of knives. I was like, they make you buy your own stuff?
Oh man, it was intense. Like the equipment, just everything we had. Like it was a different world. And like I said, to be 18, to be so young and to be exposed to that and experience it, it just shapes your
Oh, yeah.
mind so much differently. It's kind of ultimately, someone that's going into whether it's the army or, at a young
Right.
age, and it shapes them, into the man that they are. You know, it was a very similar experience to that.
It's like martial arts, right? You just learn this discipline. And
Learn discipline.
that's so cool because now I'm thinking like your team definitely has to benefit from your leadership in that regard, where you're probably the hardest worker in the room, and because
Well,
the
what's funny is, and this is something I've learned more and more in the past couple of years. Uh, Definitely the hardest worker in the room, and I used to think that ultimately that was leadership. Now, the more I grow, the more I put on my plate, and the more both of our companies grow, the more I realize that really the only true way to see that growth is be a leader by helping others grow. And so I think before, one of the biggest misconceptions I had in leadership was I'm the hardest worker. They should respect the way I work and my work ethic, and do as I do, essentially. Now I'm in a mindset where I'd rather invest some of that energy, channel that energy, not so much into working hard, but helping others succeed and grow in the organization and grow through others. So it's something that I've really focused on and I'm continuing to work
wow.
on day in and day out, because I used to just think, if you're a workhorse, you should get the respect. But ironically, you can't muscle through, we're talking about with Flash House, we're going to be in 23 different cities in 3 years from now. You can't muscle through that type of growth and that type of scale. That's where you really need to empower others. You need to incorporate, obviously, the tech, the
Yes.
automation, stuff like that. But it's like, at the end of the day, you need to inspire others versus just saying, let me handle this. Let me go to work. So it's just something that I've really been focusing on over the last year or two, that it's really taken me a while to kind of like self-discover. Because I used to think that just watch me work and that's one of those things that it's like, from the culinary world, that's the mindset,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, you watch the Master Chef and you're supposed to like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, right, man, you're such a great leader. I can see it. In fact, that statement alone that you just shared is exactly what this podcast is about. It's about action, but it's also about ambition, and
Yeah.
not just your ambition and your actions, but the actions of others. So for me, that was gold right there. For the listener, I imagine if there are entrepreneurs listening who have their business running, they could probably think to themselves, "Wow, wait a minute." I might have to change. That's why I ask about culture and things of that nature. And it's just so great for you to be able to articulate that so well, because most people, especially coming from, I don't know if it's the real estate in you or the cooking in you. Which one of those do you think taught you communication skills more?
I would say real estate has taught me, jumping into that real estate game in such a down market. It really teaches you that grit and persistence. And when you talk about, the ability to communicate and convey to people, get into an industry when it is completely decimated, and you will, if you're going to succeed through it, there's only a few ways, and that's obviously hard work, empowering others, stuff like that. So I would say the real estate piece of it is where I really got that, where I've really grown that ability to kind of communicate with others, through others, empower others, stuff like that.
Man, speaking of others, how can people get in touch with you? Whether it's investors who might have been listening, other business
Yeah,
professionals, people who want to sell their homes, people who want to like find a way to get that platform in their city, etc.
for
What do
sure.
you prefer?
Ryan at flashhouse.com.
Ryan
That
at
easy.
FlashHouse
Ryan
and
at
Co.
flashhouse.com. Yeah, send me an email. And, I love one of the things that I'm grateful for is I've had some mentors, especially in the real estate industry, that have really taught me and, helped me grow. And it's something I'm passionate about as well. Whether it's in my real estate organization, whether it's in the growth of Flash House, but I love pouring into others and seeing their growth. I think it's like, it's one of the most special things that ultimately, I think sometimes people would think that you're territorial over your business or your ideas, when ironically, great ideas are great, but if you don't have the execution, it doesn't really matter, right? So it's like, I love to pour into others. And if anyone wants to reach out, Ryan@flashhouse.com, I'd love to connect.
Man, that's awesome. And I always do this when I wrap it up. I ask, now that you've said what you said, you are what you are in your business, career, and life. Is there anyone in particular that you would love to meet, haven't met yet, by name or trade, that you think might take your life or your business to the next level? Because you never know who's listening.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Sorry to put you on the
No, I love
spot.
it. I mean, it's funny, in our partnership group, we reference Elon a lot. And just, you want to talk about someone that is so dialed in, but such a visionary, and that's so passionate and committed to his vision. So that would probably be something that uh, I'd love to have a conversation with them. I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out. I might just be sitting there just staring. But that would be wild, just from an inspirational standpoint. There's these people that we idolize and follow and, are inspired by. Elon Musk is definitely someone that is, we talk about almost daily.
Man, Elon, if you're listening, there's somebody there that I think you could put your brain on and blow it up with real estate. Or, I mean, everything that man touches is gold, it looks like.
He's a visionary.
So I agree with you, man. That's great. You're the second person to mention Elon. Most people have mentioned Richard Branson. A few people have talked about Oprah, and then other
Yeah.
people use that opportunity, like, "Hey, we're hiring," so that we
Yeah.
need this, and this. If you're open, so it's really cool to see.
I think what I really respect, about him, and just, I love the visionary that also can provide the creativity piece of it, but that can also execute.
Yeah,
And when you look at just the innovation, right? Like, it's wild. You just want to know, like, what's going through that dude's brain. Like,
100%.
it's wild. And let me get 1% of that. Let me get a percent of a percent of that, and I'd be real intrigued to have a conversation with that.
Well, it's just good to know that you and I have somebody that we admire in common, man. It's been an absolute pleasure having a conversation with you. I wish there
Yeah,
was more time, man, because I feel like we could have gone deeper on this, and maybe that
sure.
that leads for another episode. I find it so strange that everyone I speak to, every time it's just getting good, the time is wrapped up.
Man,
But
it's save it for the sequel.
Ryan, man, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.